Hello and welcome again to the sidelines of the Pondy Literature Festival 2022. I am extremely honored and privileged to talk once more to Dr. S.K. Manjul, Joint Director General, Archaeological Survey of India. Dr. Manjul is very well known for the famous Sinoli excavations where he excavated the chariot that dismissed many a myth about our civilization. But today I want to talk about his beginnings. So Dr. Manjul, where did your archaeological career start?
Okay, actually when I was entered in postgraduate diploma in archaeology at Institute of Archaeology in 1994 and then immediately dhalavira excavation started by our director Dr. R.S. Bist, who has done a long 13-year excavation at Dhalavira and brought out many new things in Harappan context. So I was there as a trainee at Dhalavira, and I learned a lot in Dhalavira excavation, and also subsequently in the next year I supervised some of the trenches and excavation under Dr. R.S. Bist. And in the first year itself, 1995, I discovered a factory site just close to Dhalavira, almost 1.5 kilometer away to Dhalavira, that's called near the Machi post. So there is a lot of evidences of rock cutting and making of the pillar members there, and also some of the unfinished pillar member we discovered there itself. So no one is believed first, even our director R.S. Bist told me that we have done a lot of exploration there. How come this miss from our team earlier? I just insisted my teacher, please come and see whether I am true or not, because I am the beginner. After going to R.S. Bist with me, and he's surprised that how come you see those things where we all go through at that route itself and explore all those things. So that was the beginning of my discovery at Dhalavira. That's the only one example in Harappan context where the quarry of stone members, as well as they have done finish all those things. And next year I have done excavation there under Bist sir itself, and brought out how they cut the entire stone and how they have finished all those pillar members and brought out to the site. And later on when we tried to discover all those relation between other sites, we got that the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro also having similar kind of architecture member there itself, which is indigenously built or make it at Dhalavira site itself. So that is the amazing experience for me. And then towards that we have done a lot of excavation, like the Dhalavira is one of the intact site in Harappan context, having 3 layers of fortification. One is outer fortification, and also having individual fortification of citadel, lower town, middle town, even in the belly, etc., along with the entire water management system between 2 nalas, Manhar and Mansar, and in between upper town means citadel and then middle town, there is ceremonial ground and stadia also. So these are the unique discovery in Harappan context. Apart from that, the elaborate gateway in northern side and eastern side also. But the northern gateway is amazing, having a long inscription of Harappan. That is the first signboard discovered in any of the Harappan site or any of the contemporary world, any of the civilization. That is the initial starting with the dhalavira excavation, and then there is a lot of exploration also. We have done a lot of exploration, and also that time one task we have given to do the dissertation on whatever subject you like. So I have started working on ethno-archaeological study. That time it's a very few people have done that kind of a study in our Indian scholars. So we have done, I have done the local culture that is there in the Kutch, having the ornaments making and all those settlement pattern, and then lifestyle, then food habit, and also how they having the cattle, etc., etc., in comparison with dhalavira remains at Harappan period. So that was really having a very good insight to understand the culture continuity and the art form which is prevailed in the so remote place like Kutch. So nowadays after the earthquake in Gujarat, everything is changed there.
Oh. Even at the archaeological?
Yes.
Oh no.
Not archaeological context, but
in the site?
In the local villages.
Okay.
They have done the pakka makan, etc. So that changed the entire style of living.
Okay. So that sort of continuity was
Yes.
there. Okay, wow.
So that's a fantastic story for understanding of the culture, because without the continuity or local ethnographic study, you cannot understand the small object like pestle, how they are making the bead, how they are cutting the stone, how structural mortar they are using, whether they got the local material like clay for making of pottery, or that similar type of pottery prevailed in the local craftsmanship, etc., and how they are baking the pottery, whether the similar kind of tradition continue or not. So these understanding will give a holistic idea of our culture, our continuity of the culture itself.
So you were actually there when the signboard was being dusted off, and you had the excitement that finally we got a script.
Yes.
But then it turned out to be, so you were part of that
Yes,
moment?
Yes, I was part of that moment, and I have done the whole inscription traced also, because I am an artist. So this have given me all those tasks to me to do some reconstruction of the gateway, how it's look like in that time, and also some do the tracing, etc. So
you were very much part of because we have seen the dhalavira. Everybody knows about the road sign, but you know, I'm actually sitting with someone who was there at the time. This is a very special moment for me.
And also Dr. Arvind, he is better off me. He has also worked there. Okay. And at the citadel area, they have excavated the tank and those. Yes.
My goodness, so this is a goosebump moment for me. So that was your beginning. When I read your bio, you know, first of all, you know, everybody is very fixated with, of course, the Harappan culture and then, you know, the extension of it. But you have something very interesting, and that is you have done excavations in the northeast. So tell us, what took you to the northeast, what were you looking for there, and what you found and what you've concluded. What can we tell about the northeast?
Actually, after entering into the job in Archaeological Survey of India in 1999, I was first posted in Shimla, and that's a whole region of Himachal Pradesh. So I have done a lot of exploration village to village in interior of the Himachal Pradesh, and then got a lot of insight of the temple and the local culture, then the mosque, the tradition of worship, tradition of the local building making, etc., etc. And after that, I got selected in superintending archaeologist for the first time in ASI record of more than 100 years of ASI. I got selected first time assistant archaeologist to superintending archaeologist.
Okay.
A long jump. So I was posted first in northeast, Guwahati circle, and that time I am looking after 7 states of northeastern whole region. So I travel a lot in village to village survey, and also we started an excavation at Ambari, that is in Guwahati itself, ancient Pragjyotishpur. That site has already been excavated in 10 years by several scholars, by the Deccan College and the State Archaeology Department. But when I saw the pottery there, I presume this is wrongly interpreted as a 500 AD, date by 500 AD. So I instituted another colleague of State Archaeology Department, Director State Archaeology, Mr. Datta was there, to redo the excavation at least in a smaller place. So they agreed because that's a state property. So I requested him itself, and then I started excavation, very small excavation, and try to train all State Archaeology Department archaeologists and university people also. So when I started excavation, below the early excavation, I got lot of evidences which is not recorded at all.
Okay.
And then going down, it is still continuing. So it's a very difficult to excavate because the water level is so high.
Okay.
So immediately the whole water coming from the lower level and fill all the trenches itself. So I've done a very innovative idea to put some pump to pump out the water itself. And interestingly, for the first time in northeastern region, we have excavated almost 2nd century BCE, evidence of 2nd century BCE. Before the Christian era, there is no evidence at all at although there is a lot of literary references in Pragjyotishpur, even the participation in Mahabharata from Pragjyotishpur, but there is no such early historic evidence, physical evidence found at that particular area. So that was really a very good evidence for northeastern region to understand how to do.
So from 500 AD you took it back to 200 BC.
200 BC.
Okay.
So that's first, and then I have also took one small trench at Sivsagar, that is close to Nagaland. The Ahom kingdom were there in Sivsagar. One small trench, but unfortunately we because of the terrorism and bomb blast we have not done in larger scale. So that's the experience in, and also we try to do the preservation because we are the custodian of centrally protected monument there. So we have done a lot of conservation work and preservation work at northeastern region. Even in Manipur, that time there is a lot of terrorism at Manipur itself. So we took the challenges to preserve our heritage at Manipur itself, and Nagaland or Bhismatnagar at Arunachal Pradesh, or even the whole this Assam area, having rock cut sculptures, built built temples, etc. in around 600 to 900 AD, before the Ahom came to this area. So it's a really a virgin area to do the archaeological excavation at that area. That will give a really a very good idea how the culture from the plain to the upper hill or northeastern region, the fusion of culture, and also apart from that, the later on the Thai and that area after Ahom came, the fusion you can see in there. And interestingly, if you go to the Sivsagar area, there is lot of temple, Shiva temple, Vishnu temple, as well as the Devi temple also, that called Devi Dol, Vishnu Dol, and Shiv Dol. All those temples having lot of sculptures.
And these are dated?
Dated around 1300 to 1500 AD. But interestingly, if you see the fusion in the sculpture art, that is in Chinese style, like Thai, etc., dragon and all those things with the Indian god and goddesses.
Okay.
So that's a unique evidence in Northeast that is not there in anywhere. That is only confined to that area itself. Okay. That's the unique evidence. As in DNA analysis recently there in lecture itself, the fusion came from Thai region. That reflected in archaeological evidence, as well as the temple premises also, how they marry with the local, and the names also, and that fusion is there in the belief system also. They adopted Indian god and goddesses, the yogas, etc., and that has depicted in the temple plinth or temple moldings also. The yogic mudras and also the god and goddesses, Hindu god and with fusion with the architectural feature of or iconographical feature of the Thai and Thailand.
So you mentioned 200 BC, and you mentioned also that there is reference to that area in our literature, in our Itihasa.
Yes.
But since you are into material culture, to what extent can you trace the continuity with the rest of India? Because the Northeast, is often touted, or we are made to believe that they are not like us. We grew up with a very wrong notion. So to what extent can you link in terms of material culture to the rest, or little bit more to the west of India, which we don't ever question North India? Is there a link?
Certainly.
Okay.
There is no doubt about it. Archaeologically, belief system, everything is linked with the mainland of India, mainland, what you call mainland. That is connected with the river route very well. Even in Buddhism, came to that particular route of Brahmaputra. So we have the site there of even the stupa that is there in the Assam itself. The root of Buddhism is also came there. Interestingly, the local made eretine ware. Eretine ware is a foreign Roman ware. They have copied the Roman ware, and also the NBP, which is called the typical Mauryan or pre-Mauryan pottery, having a lot of luster in that pottery. They have done the imitation of that pottery that in 2nd century BCE. So that clearly shows the close affiliation and continuous trade or linkage with that area. Even in 8th, 9th century, there is huge temple at Guwahati, the North Guwahati, a typical 9th century AD, And also if you see the architectural member, the carving and iconography, that is very similar to the concept of iconography of Odisha and the mainland of Bihar and that area. So that's a very, very fascinating evidence we have. But yes, in after 9th-10th century AD, there is lot of fusion happened. After coming Ahoms and other from the route of Myanmar and Burma, now Myanmar, the route of that. So there is lot of fusion you can see in the cultural fusion.
So the third excavation that you did, which I want you to talk about, is Binjar, because it seems to have a lot of significance, and what you found there and what it explains of our culture should not be forgotten with the new excavations, which are startling and deserve the space they get. So can you, I'd like this, to be showcased.
Before that, Binjar, I'd like to say some other excavation which I have participated or we have directed also, the Adibadri. That time there is Saraswati project taken by the government of India, and the Saraswati project, that is the first site, Adibadri, just foothills of Himachal Pradesh in Yamunanagar district. That was believed that the first Saraswati came down to the plain at Adibadri itself. So we have done excavation there, and we found the Buddhist remains there in whole area. And also we have done lot of exploration in Yamuna, and also stream of this Saraswati or Diswatwati river, and we found lot of sites in historical period as well as the Harappan context. So that's the initial work, and then we have done the excavation at Kurukshetra also. In Kurukshetra, the Hars Katila, the little bit of excavation at Hars Katila, that is in this Swatwati river, well known Kurukshetra region. And after that we took excavation at Binjar. Binjar is the site, is a last site in Indian part, and just 5 kilometers away there is Pakistan border, and the river Ghaggar goes to the Pakistan, that called Hakra in Pakistan. In Indian region they call Ghaggar, but and that is ancient Saraswati. The name is there in the map also in early days, in 18th century map, etc. Saraswati or Surasati, they have written in that. So it's a long tradition. So there is lot of site, Harappan site in Saraswati. Even the Kalibanga, having Diswatwati river and Ghaggar river meet together at Kalibanga. It's one of the largest urban site in excavated by ASI in 60s. Near the Binjar, we have 2-3 major sites. One is Baror, it's 15 kilometers away from Binjar, and one is Tarkhanwala Dera, just 5 kilometers away from this Binjar. Binjar is very fascinating site because it's a smaller settlement, almost 150 meter by 150 meter only, but the sequence, cultural sequence is really amazing. From almost 4500 BCE, that is recorded in C14 date, to till 1900 BCE. There is continuous sequence, and probably that is the first site where we get the continuous evidence of seals, stamp seals, of very tiny seal of that is a pendant seal, having some symbols only. And then after that, in subsequent layer we got the little bigger seal having some animal figurines in both sides, that is also a pendant seal. Then another subsequent layer we got the animal figurine with Harappan script. So these are the evolution of seal itself. And then subsequently animal figurine is vanished, only script were there. And then converted in later on converted into the terracotta seal, only script. There is no depiction of seal, animal figurine, etc. So these evolution of seals for the first time we got in one place, well dated from 3600 BCE to 1900 BCE. Another interesting evidence we got from the binjar, that is the whole site in particular mature or late mature phase converted into the industrial settlement. So in early Harappan phase there is totally agricultural settlement. The only few craftsman's evidences we got with the hearth and few terracotta beads or steatite bead only, but the later on there is subsequent change in the mature Harappan phase, having weight and measures, having tools, a variety of tools, copper tools, iron, not iron tools, iron is not there in Harappan, but stone tools, and also the lot of hearth. The hearth having lot of variety, the furnaces, bigger furnaces, and then middle size of hearth having some turret and for hole for the blowing of air, and also the pot hearth, the smaller pot hearth. So that shows the smelting, the re-smelting of ingots, and also the finishing of making ornaments. So that shows the hearth size, how they control the heat and the fuel also. So the whole evidence in one place, it's a really unique for understanding of Harappan, how Harappan have created this entire craftsmanship and the techniques they have used, and also some of the hearth we got to make the charcoals. So they put some wooden logs there and covered it, and later on 8 hours or 10 hours they come with the charcoals. That charcoals they can use for making ornaments or burning the heat for the heat control. So these all evidence shows a continuity of the culture. And also interesting for the first time I can say the continuity of pottery making, the change of the shape from the early Harappan down to the 4000 BCE to the mature Harappan, how they converted or evolved the pottery because the change of environment, because the change of utility of the pottery, because they converted into agriculture through industry.
So is that influenced, sorry to interrupt, is that influenced by the drying up of the hagar, or is it, it is
I think the climate is playing a lot of role in around 2000 BCE.
Yes, because you mentioned later period.
Yes, yes. Around 2000 BCE, we have done exploration also at that area, around 50 kilometer to up to the Suratgarh, that's one place, and Anupgarh to Suratgarh. There is lot of site, Harappan site. One site we got at around 25 kilometer away from Binjar area. That site is on the dune. Below that there is settled dune. So that shows how they have migrated after dried up of the river and then climatic change. So they have settled at some time in the dune, and dune is settled below that. So that shows also the rainfall, system of rainfall, how the rainfall, whether it's a 5-year gap or 10 years gap, having some rainfall and all that. So that cause of dryness and that area, and move that area towards upwards to the Gangetic Valley and the more Diswatwati Valley, which have some water, that not scarcity of water there itself. But yes, there is a lot of question for decline of the Harappan culture, or whether it's a migrated, whether it's a decline for the climatic condition, whether it's having the changes globally of climate, even in the Mesopotamia and other places also.
Yes.
There is a lot of changes happen in that particular time period. So that created the disrupt the trade of Harappans. So only they confined to the inland trade in later on. That also causes a lot of changes in the culture, and also the fusion of the culture with the other regions.
Yes, you had mentioned Varsha Vas. You remember that could not have happened then?
Of course, in every time you cannot travel in the rainy season.
True.
So that continued till the Buddha's time. There is a lot of Varsavas happen in Buddha's time. At least 3 months they stay in one place and give the ceremony, etc. Even in Vaishali and Magad and other places also. So it's a long tradition in Indian scenario. So 3-4 months you cannot travel because all the river is flooded and the crossing of river is really difficult at that time. And river route is very, very important. Without the connection of river route, you cannot travel along. Even if you see excavation at Ganga Valley, there is evidences of river route till Neolithic period. If you go to the Neolithic period also, then Chalcolithic period, there is a lot of trade route in, from the river itself. So river played a very important role for connecting the cultural milieu from different regions.
So, you know, Doctor, I could go on and on. You have done so much work. You are now digging at Rakhigarhi, but that will be for another time. But thank you so much. I wanted to get a glimpse of your earlier work and also showcase it for the audience in Ponte Lit Fest. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
for being so generous with your knowledge. And so that was Dr. Sanjay Kumar Manjul, Joint Director General Archaeological Survey of India, one of our foremost archaeologists who actually defines and sets the trend of knowledge systems of what we were. So thank you very much.
Thank you.